The journalistic curiosity always gets me. I want to know what everyone's doing. No, I'm always happy to have conversations, absolutely. And I think that was the core reason why I created the books as well, is that, for as many people as there are that would like a ghostwriter in their corner, there's probably thousands of others that would just want to know how to do it, and just to have that guidance to take them through step by step. And so that's why I decided to create the trilogy, so that anyone around the world can pick it up and go, I want to write a book. Okay, where do I start? Here's the foundations. This is what I need to look at, and kind of move through that way. So that was my way of reaching way more people than I ever could doing one-on-one ghostwriting. So
welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. I have an author on the show today who has done a lot of great, amazing work in her past, in her career. She's also actively working on new projects all the time. And Roxanne is here on the podcast. I'm on her Instagram while we're chatting. Love your Instagram, by the way, Roxanne. It's great. We're going to be talking about all things Roxanne on the show. And I'm excited because she's joining me from another part of the world. And it's a holiday there. It's a holiday here in Canada. It's Canada Day. Woohoo! But Roxanne's here as well. Roxanne, welcome to Living the Next Chapter. Glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, we're definitely having a big celebration day together. So yeah, would love to be spending it with you. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, now you just okay. 5 extra points for that. Well done. Good job. Roxanne, where are you in this big world of ours?
So I live on the Sunshine Coast, which is in Queensland, Australia.
There you go, everyone. If you want to meet great people from around the world, start a podcast. And
Absolutely.
You get to talk to people in real time on the other side of the planet. I don't know. It's really, really cool. So, Roxanne, thank you so much for doing this. What was the starting point for you as an author? How did all this begin for you? Was it something you started when you were a kid, or was it more recent?
Yeah, so I guess my journey was a little bit backwards, if you like, in terms of how I actually eventually became an author. So I always loved words as I was growing up. I loved books, and I loved, losing myself in, Babysitter's Club and whatever it was that was on my bookshelf at the time. So words were always, I guess, a sense of, I don't know, maybe escapism, fantasy, giving me new ideas, all of those amazing things. So that's where my love of books started. Professionally, I actually ventured into journalism first. So started a career in print media. So still words, still writing every single day, and having the opportunity to share everyone else's stories, which was amazing. Sort of gave me a taste of what I really loved about, being able to use the written word to share knowledge and information and that kind of thing. So interestingly, in the newsroom, I spent about 10 years in a traditional newsroom before starting to freelance. But while I was in that setting, I realized that I didn't really fit the mold of what you would call a stereotypical journalist. So while my colleagues were clamoring over each other for, the police rounds and the court rounds and the council rounds and, all of the hard, what we call hard news, I loved, the fluff pieces where I would go, to open days and, Lions clubs. I don't know if you have Lions clubs in Canada.
Yeah.
I think it's an international organization. So to really connect at a grassroots level with the community and share the everyday people's stories, like that's what really lit me up and kind of made me a bit of an oddity in the newsroom. We'd have pitch meetings and I'd be like, I really want to talk about, this 96-year-old who's running her first marathon, and I'd kind of get sideways glances like, who cares about that? And I'm like, well, I think there's heaps of people that care about that. But that just kind of, that just showed, I guess, the shifting nature of media at the time as well. We were moving into the online realm, what they classed as, what people wanted was shifting. And it didn't really light me up as much anymore. It was 10 things to do on the Sunshine Coast. And I'm like, oh, yawn. So it was really changing. So, so I freelanced for a couple of years and then found books and never looked back since. So when I say my journey was a bit backwards, I actually started as a ghostwriter. So writing books for other people. before I actually wrote my own for myself. So, so I guess I looked at it as a transfer of my skills. So I had everything, all of the toolkit that I needed. I could write, I could interview. I loved taking vast amounts of content and making sense and order out of it. So, it was a perfect fit. It just took me 12 years to realize it. And so I landed in there, and I think I was ghostwriting for about 4 years before I published my first book, which is The Mindful Author, and it is the first in a trilogy, which I've dubbed the Ignite and Write trilogy, that is designed to guide aspiring authors through from, their first idea of I want to write a book all the way through to having a published book in their hands. So a bit of an odd journey, I'm sure, compared to the most of the guests that you have on here. But, that's my truth, though, yeah.
Okay, so I had a lot of people on the show, Roxanne, that have inspired people to become an author. You do that, but you've also created an author, right?
Yes. In more ways than one.
Right? Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about the author that you've created? Because I think we're going to talk to him later as well.
Yes. So I gave birth to him 10 years ago.
There you go.
So, so my son Lincoln, he became an author at the age of 8. So he only beat me by about 30 years, but we won't go there. So he's really excited to share his journey with you. About how he created Sprout's idea and his second book, Super Sprout. So he's officially started a series now. So we interestingly released our first books at the same time. So we had a combined book launch, which was so much fun. We really got to, I've been to many, many book launches over the years, and the more traditional ones are very, quiet. Everyone sits, they're respectful, they listen. And they learn about the person behind the book. Ours was like a big, it was like a birthday party. Nice. We had giant dice, and we had building blocks, and we had all kinds of crazy things going on, and it was so much fun. And such a great thing to be able to share that together, that step into authorship together. So now, both of our second books are ready at the same time, but he's going to have his own launch this time. I'm like, you burned it, buddy. You can go celebrate with your friends.
I love it. So we're going to have a separate episode for Lincoln. He's going to join us here in a little bit. We're going to do a separate episode for him. So it'll be his first time as a podcast guest, his own episode. I'm so excited to have him come on Living the Next Chapter. So that's huge. I love it.
He's very pumped. Yeah, thank you.
Good. Okay, so you said you started as a ghostwriter. You did that as well in your early days of writing. How does somebody just start to become a ghostwriter? I don't understand how this works. Like, how do you just put yourself out there and say, hey, everyone, I'll write your book for you, and you get all the credit, I'll do all the work. How do you just start to become a ghostwriter? How do you do that?
I think I just made the decision. It sounds really silly, but I knew that I was ready for something different in my career. Even as a freelancer, I had just recreated what I was doing in the newsroom, but at home. So it's it was beautiful. I had steady clients, the same people I was working with every week. So it really was a freelancer's dream, but I'm like, I feel like I need something else. Someone planted the seed of books, and I actually knew one of my good friends, her husband is an entrepreneur, and he's like, oh, I wouldn't mind a book for my business. So basically he was my crash test dummy. And I said, oh, look, I'm thinking of doing this. How would you feel about me doing this for you? And it was a ridiculously low rate, just so that I could test the waters. And it was amazing. So, and I literally, from the moment that I completed that manuscript, I have had a ghostwriting client, at least one, on the books ever since. And that was about 6 years ago now. So it's been, it was like it was meant to be, and it just took me way too long to figure it out for myself. So in the background, I'm always ghostwriting, even now. Different, always nonfiction. So that's my genre. And just the variety and the amount of stories and no two have ever been the same. So it's really awesome. Yeah. So yeah, it all started from a simple decision and just, I don't know, giving myself the opportunity to give it a try, I guess. So yeah.
So how many books total have you ghostwritten to date?
I was hoping you weren't going to ask me that. I think
A lot?
I don't actually keep track. It doesn't sound like a lot, but bear in mind, these are anywhere between 60 and 90,000 words each. So I've done about 24 from scratch.
Hang on. Wow.
Yeah. They average about 4 a year from scratch. And then there's others that come to me kind of half-baked and some that come to me just for editing. So yeah, kind of jump in at lots of different, I guess, meet people where they're at. So yeah.
Do you sleep? Like, how do you do all that? That's amazing.
Yeah, I do. Well, I think so. In a newsroom, we had to crank out at least half a dozen stories a day. So I do work very quickly. Yeah, kind of had that drummed into me very quick. Like if you didn't finish a story, there was a hole in the newspaper the next day, that they had to fill. So it was, you have to get these stories done. So I do work very quickly. So I can process, a lot of information, simplify it. And then, I don't know, I'm just lucky in that once I tap into someone's energy, once I tap into their personality, I can just, take the what's it called, like the core of the information and, inject their personality into it and off we go. So, and I just love it. Like I'll get lost in what I'm doing. And, sometimes I've got 5 minutes to get out the door and go pick up the kids because I've lost track of time and I'm just like in the zone and I'm like, oh no, gotta go get them. So the poor things have had to wait for me a little bit after school sometimes just because, I'm in such a good flow, but bless them, they get me. So it's just, I don't know. It's just happens in the most magical way.
It's amazing. Yeah. Are you still actively accepting future clients? Like, can people still reach out to you if they have a project to talk to you and maybe have a conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay. Always happy to have a conversation. The journalistic curiosity always gets me. I want to know what everyone's doing. No, I'm always happy to have conversations. Absolutely. And I think that was the core reason why I created the books as well, is that, for as many people as there are that would like a ghostwriter in their corner, there's probably thousands of others that would just want to know how to do it. And just to have that guidance to take them through step by step. And so that's why I decided to create the trilogy so that anyone around the world can pick it up and go, I want to write a book. Okay, where do I start? Oh, here's the foundations. This is what I need to look at, and kind of move through that way. So that was my way of reaching way more people than I ever could doing one-on-one ghostwriting. So
I like how you're using your books to help you write more books. That's what you're doing. Right?
Yes, yeah. In a nutshell, absolutely.
All right. Well, that makes sense. I like that. Okay, for a young author that's maybe considering becoming a ghostwriter, any words of wisdom, any starting points that we can use to help us design maybe our path as a ghostwriter in the future?
Oh, as a ghostwriter?
Yeah.
If you've got a passion for writing, I'd just say, look at the core skills that you need. So can you write? Can you interview? And can you manage large amounts of content? And if you say yes to all three, then I'd say give it a go. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there training to become a ghostwriter, or is it just taking what you know and applying it to the practice?
I think there are actually courses out there that can teach you how to ghostwrite. I've never done one. I took my 12 years in media as my training ground. I think there are some courses out there if you go looking for them, for sure.
Okay. Wow. I'm very curious about all this because I've had other ghostwriters on and we've talked a little bit about their path as a ghostwriter. But you really seem to have this all figured out. I love this. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So beyond your own books, your ghostwriting books that you've done in the past, Have you done any other projects recently that, or I'm on your website while we're chatting. There's a coffee table book I see here as well. Like you've
Oh,
done other projects too?
so many side
Yeah.
projects. I'm glad you found that. Yes, so that's women inspired. So that's a collaboration that I've done with a photographer here on the Sunshine Coast called Jaya McIntyre. So it was actually her concept. So she co-founded it and had done two previous editions. We've been friends for a long, long time. And I was kind of in the background going, oh, that looks really cool. I'd really love to be a part of that. But she had other writers on board. So basically, yeah, it is a coffee table book. So her beautiful images, and then she would partner with a writer to pull together profile stories of each of the women that have been photographed. So yeah, she had two different writers over 2 different years, and then she approached me and she goes, "Oh, how would you feel about doing the next one?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited! Let's do it." So just it's so very different to anything that I've done before. Obviously, the storytelling component's still there, you know, making sure that their core message is shining 100% still there. But just the ability to be able to put it into such a beautiful book, and Jaya designed it all. So it looks visually stunning. It feels amazing. It's got one of those like silky hardcovers. So yeah, and so proud of that product. So we are looking at doing a 4th edition as well together. So yeah, so we're in the process of recruiting ladies in Queensland at the moment. We are hoping to build that, you know, to Australia, and then hopefully build that to internationally. Hopefully, we'll see where it takes us. But at the moment, it's so much fun, and yeah, I was really, really grateful to be asked to collaborate on that.
I'm looking at your website still while we're chatting, and I see you've got some amazing ebooks as well that are here to help authors. Can you give us an overview of what we're going to find on the website as resource and tools for authors through your ebooks as well?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, they're basically just complementary resources for my main paperback trilogy, or I am releasing them as ebooks actually this year, finally. So I know.
Nice.
It took me a while. Most people do that at the same time. Again, I'm always a bit backwards. But yeah, so the other resources that are available on my website are just complementary, I guess, things that can help to give you more to consider and to work on beyond what's written inside the Ignite and Write trilogy. So yeah, just want to try and give people as much as they can to help. I think a lot of it is mindset based. Like once you have that strong foundation in place and you know that you can do it, and the way that you write is good enough, and the way that you share your stories is good enough, then you can't be stopped really. So I spend a lot of my time and energy with people when we work together, just making sure that they really anchor that in, because then the rest becomes fun and exciting and not so burdensome, because you don't have these little voices in the back of your head telling you that everything's wrong or that someone else can do it better, and all of those, you know, those things that we tend to tell ourselves when we're trying something new for the first time. So, yeah.
So for a young author, would you suggest as around the idea of having ebooks on your website like you have? I just think it's kind of interesting that you can write a smaller word book to get it out there in the world, very concise. Would you encourage young authors to try writing more ebooks as a beginning stage to get into the craft of writing?
Yeah, well, interestingly, the market is gravitating towards smaller reads. So, yeah, I've noticed that, because when I first went to launch my book, I thought I'm just going to put it all in there. Like I'm going to have everything from concept to completion in one book. And the more I looked around and did some market research and chatted to people in the industry, they're going, that's going to be quite a large book. It was, you know, going to be over 100,000 words easily, maybe over 120,000 words easily. And they said people aren't reading that anymore, like unless it's a novel. You know, obviously novels, people get, you know, lost in those. They're amazing journeys. You don't want to limit those. But for nonfiction, they're saying more and more people are, you know, trending towards smaller style books. And that's why I decided to break mine up into 3 smaller style books. So yeah, absolutely. Ebooks are a great way to reach an international market very quickly. I would just say make sure you pay a lot of attention to structure and make sure that you edit it, because if you're putting it out there as professional work, what I mean by that, have someone else edit it, because you can never really truly edit your own work. So even I have an editor that I send all my stuff to. So just those two things, then you're putting out a really professional product that's going to help to build, your followers and the people who love your style of writing. And you can absolutely build from there. So, yeah, it's a great way to test the waters for sure.
I think I'm just going to live on your website, Roxanne, because I just keep scrolling and there's more great stuff every time I look here. The other thing I just wanted to highlight off your website is the workshops. You've had these in the past. What is a workshop that you do and who attends? And tell me more, because I think more authors love doing community with other people. Learning from someone in the space. So the idea that you have workshops, can you tell us more about these and how do we participate in a workshop?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you. So I've been doing the workshops for about 3 years now, and they have been in person here on the coast. So I do them once a quarter. That said, I am literally in August of this year at Book Week going to be launching an online version of that same workshop so that anyone around the world, even in beautiful Canada, can join in and get the same content. So I do love a community, and I love, getting together and, and the brains trust that's built when people who are on the same journey come together. And, that sense of I'm not alone in this, because writing, if you're trying to do it on your own in your office at home or wherever you're writing, it can be a really lonely journey, and you don't have anyone to turn around to and go, hey, what do you think about this? You got to kind of mumble your way through. So the workshops, they are really designed to help people to build those strong foundations. So one of my biggest bugbears is when you see people on Facebook, for example, and they're going, oh, I really want to write a book, what should I do? And you'll see 30 people go, just start writing. And I'm like, no, don't just start writing. So, because I see two outcomes every single time. It's one of two outcomes. They'll either get super passionate and write, end up with, dozens and dozens of pages of content, but there's no order around it. So they haven't thought about, well, what sort of journey am I taking the reader on? What's the message that I want to share? Why am I even doing this other than I want to write a book? And then the second one is that they might write 2 paragraphs and just get totally lost because they've got no idea where they're going. Again, the same things, but different outcomes. So either they're overwriting or they can't write at all. So I see those 2 things when people just write. So these workshops are designed to take people through the process of getting very clear on all of those things. So why am I writing a book other than, my psychic told me to, or my best friend's been telling me for years that my story's amazing? Why am I writing my book? And then, who is my ideal reader? Who am I writing for, and what do I want to share with them? And then the all-important structure. So even if you can start with a skeleton structure, it gives you a sense of direction and a blueprint that you can work towards, rather than just free writing and hoping for the best. I kind of liken it to, throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. If you actually have a plan in place, it frees you up to know that everything that's in your head has a place on the page and where to put it. So it makes the writing journey so much more fun and fulfilling, because you're not questioning yourself every time you sit down to write. You're like, okay, well, this is why I'm writing. This is who I'm writing for. And I actually give my ideal readers names, by the way. I give them full personalities. I'm going to sit down and write for Kelly today. And I'll sit down and what does Kelly need to know about, how to structure her book? And I will write. So it gives you a lot more clarity around the whole process. And when you have that, writing can be such a joyful experience and not have to be stressful and frustrating and feel like you've got another job and all those other things that I hear from some writers who just sit down and start writing. So that's the core of it. So we spend a whole day together in person. In the online version, there's 11 modules. I'm pretty sure you could get through it in a day if you were like really wanting to smash through it. Otherwise, yeah, there's activities and workbooks and everything that go with it, so that you can give yourself the time and space. You can really build some very strong foundations for your writing journey. So, yeah.
Okay, Roxanne, so your workshops, the one thing I wanted to ask you too about was, who is the ideal participant to come to your workshop? Do you have somebody in mind? Is it someone who's new to writing, or they've been writing for a while? Who's the best person to come to your workshop?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's definitely not someone who's already published. They're all ready to publish because they've done all of the hard yards already and they're ready to go and see, someone to help them with the publishing part of the journey. So it's definitely someone who has maybe been thinking about writing for some time, or might even be a fresh idea, just someone who's been thinking about writing, but they just don't know how to take the first steps forward. And I have also had many people come through the workshop that have tried and got stuck on one of those two paths that I mentioned earlier. Like they've maybe overwritten and gone, hang on, there's no sense to this. And they want to kind of pare it back and, kind of retrofit those foundations. Not ideal, but it is possible. And it's a lot more cost effective if you can do that yourself before you engage an editor to do that for you, because that takes a lot of time, a lot of man hours to process all that content and pare it back and restructure it. So if you can do that yourself, that's amazing. And that's what the workshop's designed to do, to help you get that clarity. So yeah, so either usually first-time authors. I have had a few who have already been published authors actually come through to get support with a completely different idea for their second book. So it doesn't have to be exclusively first-time authors. But yeah, just people who I guess are at the front end of the journey. So I can support them with the tools that they need to see it through to the end. So many people say they're going to write a book, but they don't see it through to the end. So yeah, the whole point is to give them all the tools that they need so that they can carry it through and actually have a book in their hands at the end of the day. That's the goal.
Okay. So any thoughts about having a workshop around maybe an introduction to ghostwriting for someone who's interested in doing that?
It's interesting that you asked that. That was a potential path for me at the very beginning, was to focus on, empowering ghostwriters. It may be, I never say never. It's not there yet, but it may be something that I look at in the future for sure. But I'm always happy with that. Again, even with people who are starting out, I've had conversations with people, actually quite a few in America, who have reached out and asked me, I'm looking at doing this, like, what would be your advice? I'm always happy to help. And I think the more people out there helping to create stories and, get these legacy pieces out of people's heads and onto pages where the world can learn from them and enjoy them and experience them, I think the better. So no, there's no course as yet, but yeah, that's not to say that they will in the future.
All right. I'm just going to put the ideas out there because you got so much. The other thing I would suggest, because I've had people ask me this question and I don't have a good answer for them. I have people who want to hire a ghost editor. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to find one and how to prepare for a ghostwriter. Like, what do I need to do as I hire someone? What kind of information should I have to give to my ghostwriter? Like, I have no idea anything to do with this. Dave, please help me. And I'm like, I don't have an answer for you. I do now, and I'm looking at my answer on my screen. If you even had like an ebook or something that helps us to kind of like some of the ways that we can prepare to work with a ghostwriter from your perspective to future. Okay.
Yeah, but I guess, so I do want to clarify, and every ghostwriter has a different process too. So I'm going to caveat that with this, because everyone works very differently. But when I work with people, the whole idea for me of hiring a ghostwriter is that there is no pressure. So we kind of step in and it's like, okay, well, if you don't have the foundations, let's work on the foundations. Let's get that clarity in place so that I know what the core message is of your book, and I know what your path looks like, and I know what knowledge you have and what experiences you've had, and we can look at how we can piece that together in the most powerful way. So for me, I feel like if you have a really good ghostwriter, you shouldn't have to prepare. You could just pick up the phone and go, okay, this is what I want. Let's make it happen. And it happens. So
Okay.
yeah. Because I think that can be a barrier for people too. If they feel like they have to prepare something, like that can be daunting, because it's back to the old questions. Well, what do I need? Do I need to write something? How long does it have to be? What do I need to include? And you've just created a whole other mountain that people feel like they have to get over, in order to just pick up a phone and ask for support. So yeah, that's just my view on how I approach it. But there may be other ghosties out there who do require some pre-work. So yeah.
Okay. Because it could be a good lead generator for you. Because I know one of the questions around ghostwriting is, okay, so I hire a ghostwriter, then what? Like, I get my book back. Now, am I supposed to go find a publisher? Am I supposed to go find an editor? Like, I don't know any of this stuff, right? And they might be a little hesitant to hire somebody like you because they don't know what it takes. So if I have some kind of like a 10-step program that kind of walks me through just high level, it could be for any ghostwriter, but I want to send people to you. It's kind of what I'm trying to get to here. But how you kind of work with people, and maybe just some things that make it easier as a starting point, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just general things, make an ebook, put it out there. You can sell it. I know people will buy it because I will send them to you.
Yes.
And it's just a chance for us to learn how to work with great people like you. So I'm just putting it out in the universe.
Wonderful.
Take it if you want, but I'm just saying, I think somebody like you would be a great resource for people that are listening going, oh, Dave, I need Roxanne's email now. I'm going to call her or email her right now. So just putting it out there for you, because I really admire what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Excellent. So tell us again, before we go, Roxanne, your most recent release, and where we're going to find it, and kind of like who is the target for your most recent book, so that we know as a listener, if this book's for me or for someone I love, I know that this is the right book for us. Just kind of walk us through your most recent release as well.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So the Mindful Author's already been in the world for 2 years. So that is really aimed at fostering an author's mindset and getting the foundations right that we talked about earlier. The book that's coming out at the same time as the online course, which is Book Week this year, Australian Book Week, I'm sure it's probably different around the world. Ours is in mid-August. Is called The Structured Author. So it is the next step in the process. So once you've got those foundations in place, this book steps you through how to get everything that's buzzing around your head out of your head and onto the page, and then to put order around it. So it's about creating that beautiful structure and that blueprint that you can work towards in the writing journey. So it is filled with tips for writing as well, to help you on that journey. Basically everything that you need to complete your first draft. And then the third book, which will be The Published Author, that is going to be, I promise, I've said it now, it's live around the world. It's going to be available before the end of the year. So I'm determined to get that. It's about maybe 40% written at the moment. But I am jumping into a mentorship program with some other writers, and I'm committed to complete that and have it ready before the end of the year. So that then takes you from first draft through the publishing process, what sort of options there are, because you've got the three main paths, whether it's self-publishing, getting an independent or hybrid publisher, or seeking support from a traditional publishing house. So looking at the pros and cons of all of those and what the processes involve, so that you've got all the information that you need to make the choice that best fits what you want to achieve with your book. So, yeah.
It's amazing. Okay, so before we go, Roxanne, take us to your website. Where do we connect with you? I already know that I have people to send you today, so I want to be able to send them to the right location. Where do you want us to go to connect with you? Maybe where you're most active online too, social media, wherever you want to go. Where should we go to connect with you?
So I'm an old school Facebooker. People have been trying to get me onto Instagram, but I just, I'm way more active on Facebook. So I'm the only Roxanne McCarty-O'Kane in the entire world. So you can just search him, and that's me. So I do have my personal page and obviously the business page as well, which is Roxanne McCarty-O'Kane Writer. So either way, you'll find me, and more than happy to connect with anyone through that platform. or else my website that has all of the content, all of the resources, and different services that we offer is at roxannewriter.com.au. So that's WRITER.com or .au. You can do either or. It will take you to the same. Yeah. And the books are available through there, but also through any of the major online platforms as well. So, yeah.
Well, we're going to have a link to Lincoln's episode here as well, so people can go listen to him on the show.
Yeah, perfect.
Congratulations on helping to create new authors, physically create a new author with Lincoln.
But as well, no more intention for any more of that style of creation.
But as well, you're helping authors around the world as well. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to having you on in the future and to stay in touch with you and your beautiful family. Lily has got some amazing artwork, and I just so thrilled to see her stuff here on the screen as well. But Roxanne, thank you so much for doing this. It's great to meet you and have you on the show.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been an amazing chat. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, everyone, everything is in the show notes as always. You know how we do things. Reach out to Roxanne. If you're an inspiring author, you're looking for workshops to empower you to do this, Roxanne is so amazing. You're going to learn so much. Buy all of the books. Go grab all the ebooks. Just go and add to cart. Just click that button until you get really tired. Just add them all to your cart. Buy them all. And make sure that you buy Lincoln's book as well. You'll get an episode with Lincoln here on the podcast. You can see his books. I see them here as well on your website. But again, thank you, Roxanne, so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thanks for being here for the Living the Next Chapter podcast. So glad to have you as part of our family of listeners. There's a seat for you just here on Living the Next Chapter, and I'm so happy that you have listened to all the way to the end. Wow, you are now my new bestie. I want to let you know that I host 7 other podcasts on top of Living the Next Chapter. Yep, 8 total. One of them is called the How To Podcast series. If you are thinking, you know what, Dave, this podcast thing seems like a lot of fun. Well, I'll give you a secret. It is. It's a great, amazing, fun time where you can get to meet great people, get your word out there, promote your book, promote what your coaching program, whatever you're doing. Podcasting is great. And if you want to learn how to do this, what you're hearing right now, head over to howtopodcast.ca and look up the How to Podcast series on YouTube, whatever app you're listening on. You'll find me there. And I'd love for you to come listen to how to do this. And if you're interested and have questions on how to podcast, reach out to me at howtopodcast.ca. Thank you for listening. Talk soon.